Check. There we are. Sorry, my bad. I just have to do something like that. Check. Test 1 2 1 2. Welcome to the Wake.Show. I am Fisher the Man. Holy crap, my eyes are red. Good morning. Hey, how you doing? How's everybody doing? It's time to do some sharing and liking before we get things going here. I'll get to stuff you should know coming up here in just a second. And let's see. Let's go over here. There you are. How you doing there? All right. Need a little bit more light. Eventually there. There we go. There. Oh, who's going to be in that seat one day? Who's going to be sitting there? Hopefully we will soon find out. All right, so let's do this. We'll get to stuff you should know here in a... Jeez, man. This is rough. I just look. What if we took some light out there? It doesn't matter. Whatever. All right, so coming up on the show today, we'll check in with Eric Stratman of TNL Coaching, Nutrition Coaching, and he'll be on the show coming up at 8:45 this morning. 8:30, we are going to have on a woman by the name of Nikki. Her name is Nikki Hegstetter, and you guys may remember Nikki. Let's see, this will make it easier. Let's do this. You guys may remember Nikki from the game on, I don't even know what day this is now. Is that Monday? And she got proposed to. One of the guys from the Crimson Tide proposed after the game. So, let's see here. All right, we got that working there. We'll get to stuff you should know. Oh, yeah, my eyes. So let's do some sharing and some sharing, and let people know that we got a show here. But hold, please. We're gonna live. I'm just gonna put some light because holy crap, look at this. We'll talk about that in a second. My red eyes in a second, because I've got something on the way and I'm very excited about it. Something on the way. Oh, we got our little couch back there for guests now. All right, hold, please. Do some sharing. Hey, everybody. You should watch this new show because he'll do news and stuff and have guests on, and then he'll put eye drops in, and it's really, really compelling and provocative. People logging in right now going, what the hell is going on, buddy? What the hell is going on? Crying, that's what's going on. I don't know, feeling a little under the weather this week. Of course, the week that Jonny takes off and ends up, going to the big time. I get sick. It ain't an easy time to get sick, but we'll make it through. Damn it! Those look like crap. Look at that. Look how awesome that is. What do you guys want to talk about today? Oh, I know what I need to do, if you guys don't mind. And let me tell you about this week, too, while I'm at it. Because this week, one of the reasons why I'm kind of doing this the way that I'm doing this and not, jamming the show with guests and people to talk to, because that would be a lot easier, has everything to do with me getting comfortable with this command center. It's nothing short of a command center. Now, a couple days in, I do realize that there's a reason that in television you've got your anchors or your television hosts or whoever, and then you have dozens of people behind the scenes, making things happen. And even when it comes to just doing all this switching and pushing of buttons, it is no easy task. But what I would like to do is pull this up so that I can. There. Wait, I don't need you. I don't need any output over here. All right, we'll do that. So I want to get that up in front of me so I can see comments. Oh, there we go. Good morning. Oh, okay. There we went. Come on, you can do it. There you go. Technology. Now. All right. So good morning, Jeff. And it is better with sound. Excellent start today. Are you sure you're awake? Man, I'm not. We're good now. From Chords, good morning, Chords. And yes, we did not have sound in the beginning, but the sound should be just fine right now. So thank you so much, and welcome to the Wake.Show. So I just feel like this is one of those things, honestly, that if I were back in the corporate world, and there's all kinds of support and money and whatnot, then I probably would be. I'd probably be home in bed, only because it's not like I can't make it. Listen, I've got my coffee, and it's not like I can't make it the next 2 hours. We can't push through the next 2 hours. But now that I'm an older and wiser man, you look forward a couple of days, and not only that, but you're at 45. At 45, you're not 25, and so tonight's my late night, where I'm out at Park and Rec until midnight. Then I allegedly have to get back up, at 4:30 in the morning. Then tomorrow is a really okay. So I, instead of boring you with my, my planner over the next couple of days, there are a lot of things stacking up going into the weekend, and then I have to drive when I get off the air on Friday. Get off the air. Look at that terminology, that old school terminology. When I get off the stream. When I get off the stream on Friday, hold on. When I get off the stream, on Friday, we have a really cool meeting that we're all very excited about, and there we go. That we're all very excited about around here. Then after that, I get right on the road and head to Jacksonville to announce a race this weekend. What do you mean announce a race? I am the race announcer for the Best Damn Race series. And there's 5 of those races, 4 of them here in Florida, 1 of them in New Orleans. And so we start our series this coming weekend. We go to Jacksonville, Orlando, Cape Coral, Safety Harbor, and in New Orleans, like I said. So that, believe it or not, standing at the finish line and just announcing names, just talking for like 4 or 5 hours is very taxing. And I fear that if I'm not careful coming in today, going out and do my gig tomorrow night, coming back in tomorrow morning, doing my gig on Thursday night, and getting on the road on Friday, that come Saturday, I'm screwed. But that's just what you got to do, right? So how's this tie back into if I was still in corporate? Well, because when you're an entrepreneur, when you are trying to hustle and make things happen, you don't have time for this kind of stuff. You don't have time for sickness. It can't get in your way. So, Chords, if you are watching, if you could bring in one of those little, something with the D, the Claritin D or whatever it was you had on your person yesterday. Not that I will use it this morning, but I have a feeling tomorrow morning is when it will be needed. But instead of me going down to the pharmacy and handing over my license and getting a 30-pack of those things for God knows how much money, Chords, you know what? That reminds me, I still owe you $20. You have to remind me of that kind of stuff. I don't. Maybe you forgot, but a few weeks ago, what was it? I lost my wallet, or I lost my card, and on the way in, long story short, didn't have any cash, and I'm trapped over here and won't make it across the bridge back home to get everything handled and get gas in my car. So Chords, let me borrow $20, and I please know that I completely forgot, and I'm sorry. But don't let me forget, because I need to pay you back on that one. All right, we'll get to stuff you should know here in just a couple minutes. I got to plug in my computer, son of a. We'll figure out that. But thank you so much for being here this morning, and hopefully we have a pretty good show for you today. We'll go over some of the stuff that's in the news in the first hour as we get the second hour. Do not have a guest coming in the second hour, though we do have a couple of guests that will be joining us via technology, via video conference coming up in the 8 o'clock hour. All right, let's get to some stuff you should know, and we'll figure it out from there. How's that sound? Sound good? Sound good. All right. It is going to be. It would be in my best interest to just take things slow today. We'll keep it down here, not get worked up about anything in the news. You can have me on in the background while you're getting ready, doing what you got to do. And yeah, here we go. Partly cloudy with a high of approaching 80 this afternoon. It'll be back down to the highs in the mid-50s by the weekend. Here's stuff you should know for Wednesday, January 10th. The Trump administration Tuesday said it would not allow oil drilling off the coast of Florida, abruptly reversing course under pressure from the state's Republican Governor Rick Scott, which was a little perplexing because it was just a few days earlier that they said they were going to open up all this stuff. Then all of a sudden, 5 days later, well, you know, it was a little perplexing. And then Florida's Democratic Senator Bill Nelson, I saw a quote from him, and then it made sense. I'm not saying this is true, but it did make sense to me then. He said that this is a political stunt orchestrated by the administration to help Rick Scott, which does make a little bit more sense because you lay down some law, not a real law, you lay down some policy, and then 5 days later, you throw it out the window once you have a conversation with the Florida governor. This makes a little bit more sense. That they had no intentions of drilling off the coast of Florida, but to make it look like they were going to, so Rick Scott then could step up and go, hey, not in my state, and then that'll give them a political advantage. But who knows? Maybe this was straight up legit, and Bill Nelson is just being a politician and doing what politicians do. But Bill Nelson goes on to say, I have spent my entire life fighting to keep oil rigs away from our coast. But now suddenly Secretary Zinke announces plans to drill off Florida's coast. And a few days later, agrees to take Florida off the table. I don't believe it. We shouldn't be playing politics with the future of Florida. Right. We shouldn't be playing politics with the future of Florida. That's all you effers do. Sorry, I didn't mean to swear so early in the morning. That's all you effers do is play politics. All right? Let's not be disingenuous, Mr. Nelson. Another politician has committed suicide after allegations surfaced of sexual misconduct. Idaho Republican state lawmaker Brandon Hickson, under investigation for possible sexual abuse, died in an apparent suicide on Tuesday. The 36-year-old was found dead of a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head in his home early morning on Tuesday. Records obtained by the Associated Press also show that Hickson was previously the focus of a separate police investigation in 2014 after he was accused of inappropriate touching. At the time, Hickson denied the accusations and told police he was worried the allegations would harm his political career. It's unknown if the new investigation, which had been ongoing since October 5th, was connected to the other case. All right, let's do this, and that. Should have done that a couple minutes ago. Steve Bannon has stepped down from his position as chairman of Breitbart News just 5 months after he returned to the job after leaving the White House. Steve is a valued partner of our legacy, and we will always be grateful for his contributions and what he's helped us to accomplish, said Breitbart CEO Larry Solov. Before resuming his tenure at Breitbart, Bannon served as a chief executive for Donald Trump's campaign and then chief strategist in the White House. Dean McKee was 16 when he was sentenced to life in prison. 16. I didn't even know you could be sentenced to life in prison at 16. Last night, 30 years later, he was released after new evidence cast doubt on his guilt and suggests that his older brother may have played a greater role in the 1987 murder than was originally believed. Both brothers were teenage neo-Nazi skinheads implicated in the beating and stabbing of Isaiah Walker, a 41-year-old homeless black man. Betty White is celebrating her 95th birthday. Betty's advice for living to a ripe old age and having a meaningful life was straight and simple. Quote, first of all, keep busy. It's a good one. And don't focus everything on you. That wears out pretty fast. It's not hard to find things you're interested in, but enjoy them and indulge them. I think that I can keep you, and I think that I can keep you on your toes. And then Tyler Johnson had a hat trick as the Tampa Bay Lightning held on for a 5-4 victory Tuesday against the visiting Hurricanes. It was the first of the season, the third regular season hat trick of his career. He did have one during the playoffs in 2015. And that is stuff you should know for today. Back to whatever's going on. Back to this. Let's do hold, please. Want to get my crawl going there. Boom, boom, boom. All right. Look at that. Look at all that fancy technology there. I'll get this down eventually. We'll have it'll be a little bit more smooth. But I do appreciate the ride along the way. Let's see. Welcome, Patrick. Welcome, Cheryl. Welcome, Malaya. And Christine. Yes, coffee. I just turned. Christine, happy birthday, Christine. Happy birthday. See, you turned 40. Didn't mean to add any more numbers to that, but congratulations. Let's see. Boom, boom. There we go. Hi. Congratulations on turning 40 years old. You almost share a birthday with my pops. My pop's birthday was yesterday, and he would have been 76. Would have been 76 yesterday. There we are. All right, we'll get to some of the news of the day. Oh, let me do this because I apologize. I wonder if I should just put it on the Wake touch. Can I do this? Let me do this shot here. So you can see me running around the studio here. Oh, my dumbass! What I did, not thinking, is I plugged everything in except for my computer, so it's down to a 20%, which means it's not going to make it through the show, and I just got to plug that bad boy in live. Well, Fish, how come you just don't go to break or play something? I'm not that fancy yet. First of all, we're not going to have traditional breaks. I don't think. I don't want to do that. I don't want to say ever, but I don't think we'll ever have traditional, what we called stop sets in radio, meaning you stop down, you play 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 commercials, and then you come back and resume the show. When it comes to those people that are going to be involved with the show, sponsorships and stuff like that, it'll be a little bit more organic how we include them. Like for instance, this might have a logo on it. And so every time I'm drinking my coffee on camera, well, Also, one of the things that we will be doing is for clients has to do with original content for them. So instead of just, like on mass media, traditional media, radio and television, you have people who are sitting there in front of their TVs. Let's say TV, right? You have people sitting there in front of their TVs. They're watching, they're engaged, and then, commercials pop up. They sit there and see them. Advertisers are happy. I know. I forgot to plug in my computer. Hold on. I'll get to it here in a second. But, hell, I don't even remember where I was going with that. Let me just go ahead and plug in my computer and we'll get back to the show. Let me do this. There we go. So how's this for compelling content? I gotta finagle some wires, get around some stuff here. Hey, how's it going? That's me. Don't mind me. Don't mind me. I'm just tinkering with stuff. Good morning, David Capote. Good morning, everybody. Let me just plug this bad boy in. This is some good stuff right here, buddy. This is some good stuff right here. All right. Get back to here. All right. We're in. So let me ask you something. How many of you guys are, like my age, a little bit, I'm 45, or maybe a little older, and you've had to learn some new stuff later on in life? You didn't think you thought you were going to cruise. You had a good job maybe for 20 years. Things were clipping right along. And then all of a sudden, you wake up one day and technology has changed, things have changed, and you're becoming obsolete. How many of you have gone through something like that and had to make some changes? Because that's one of the reasons why I'm doing this the way that I'm doing it. This is just insane. The technology here. Let's see. Let me cut to that one. What we have going. That's not even a good shot. I'd have to really show you behind and everything right in here. So in the beginning of my career, early on in my career, well, no, for the majority of my career, I ran everything. So if I was at a radio station, I would have the board sitting in front of me with all the buttons to turn on the music and the commercials and this and this and this. Then you'd have a phone bank. So I'm also operating the phone bank. And the reason we call it a phone bank is because it's multiple phone lines all in one place. I don't know why they call it a bank, to be honest with you. And a phone bank over here, you'd have a computer for editing. So I would handle most of the editing for the show as well, and especially the stuff that would come in while we're playing commercials or music. And you're having phone calls, and so you're recording those phone calls, edit them as much, edit them down for brevity, and then get them on the air, that kind of stuff. And you had control. If there's a live remote somewhere, it's on your board. You have control of everything. Well, early on in my career, when I was in the smaller markets, not only would you do all that stuff, but you also would do your own production, your own promos. And then when I got to Tampa, that all changed because it was big time. And next thing you know, I don't have to do production. I don't spend hours every single day doing production. I walk in, they hand me something, I read it, and then a production guy does the rest. Well, this is kind of getting me back to the basics here, where I have to do everything all myself. But I don't think that this is like the this is the plan. I don't want to just sit here and stare into a camera and just ramble for 2 hours every single day. I want to be compelling. I want to have on interesting guests and make this a show that you guys are you're excited. When you wake up in the morning, it becomes part of your routine or every day. Because I'm still not convinced that this is the best time slot for what we're doing. I feel like from the 7 to 9 time slot, even though it makes sense for me, because that's what I've been doing all my life, that 6 to 10, that morning drive slot, and makes sense or it seems like it makes sense. The more we get into the show, the more I wonder if we should approach this with a mentality more like a midday show that you see on TV versus a morning show on radio. Well, what's the major difference? What's the big difference? A morning show, it's very people are waking up. It's from a psychological standpoint. People are waking up and they're coming onto the show, or they're tuning in their favorite radio show, and you're getting the news of the day. Boom, boom, boom. You're finding out what happened while you were sleeping. You're getting the conversation is stimulating, firing off neurons in your head. And it's and there you go. But I feel like people firing this up from 7 to 9 in the morning, I don't know what it would be difficult to compete against. Now, granted, technology is changing where a lot of you are listening right now, listening, not watching, listening right now in your cars. You got it hooked up in your car. And so some people can't, have those data plans or can afford that kind of stuff. But for the most part, radio is such a simple technology. It's just so easy to go to in the morning. However, if we were to do this from, say, 11 to noon, or I'm sorry, not 11 to noon, like a 10 to noon or an 11 to 1, something like that, where we come on right after your morning shows typically end, then we can sit there and focus So for a lot of you that are at work and you've got your task of the day and you put podcasts on in the background, you put music on in the background, stuff like this on in the background. I'm wondering if this would suit us better and suit you guys better, and we can have some more fun. There's also, I can picture us doing, really having a good time during lunch while people go on break, having contests and trivia and interaction and that kind of stuff. So, let's see here. Are you sure? All right, let me scroll down a little bit, or scroll up rather. Good morning. This segment brought to you by Lower Courts. Riveting style. All right, stop making fun of me. Stop making fun of me. I know. This is watching me sweat on camera, sweat out some, whatever, cold or, it's not the flu. If it's the flu, man, that would suck. But I'm hoping it's not the flu anyway, because right now you have 46 states that, I was reading something this morning where they're even contemplating, not calling it a state of emergency, but, like this is an official epidemic, what's happening. People are dying here in America, not third world countries here in America. Let's hold on real quickly. I want to, because I don't want to mess up this number. Flu deaths, and I'm going to type in California because I want to say they got a dozen or 27. The flu has hit California so hard this season, pharmacies have run out of medicine to treat it. Emergency rooms are packed, and the death toll is rising. State officials say that 27 people younger than 65 have died from the flu in California since October. Now, an interesting part of this is we haven't even hit peak season yet. Some scientists medical professionals are calling this an epidemic that needs to be addressed. But right now, you got the news stories like what I'm doing, but for the most part, it's not really being addressed. So peak flu season comes, next month, February. Hopefully this is the extent. And, we're like, well, I'll just go get a vaccine. Why not? Just go get a vaccine. But here's the thing, that the vaccine that they have this year for this flu is not working. It's got a 10% efficacy. I don't know if you use efficacy when it comes to medical stuff like that. But it has only a 10% effectiveness. 10%. And if you're like, well, that's better than nothing, you have to really flip that around to realize that it is next to nothing to have to get the flu shot this year. Because you get the flu shot, it's a 90% chance that it's not going to work for you. 90% chance that it's not going to work for you. Now, every time I see, numbers like that, or you start talking percentages, my brain always starts to visualize whatever it is that I'm talking about in poker terms. Now, if I'm a poker player, which I haven't played in a long time and I'm very sad, and I'm sitting there at a table and I've got all my money in the pot, I don't want 10% odds. I want the 90% odds. And if I know that I have a 90% chance of something not happening, then I'm not going to count on that thing happening. I'm not going to go look, So my point is this: the flu vaccination is worthless this year. So if you're old, should you get it? Yes. Just in case, 10% chance that, who knows? Because there are plenty of times in my poker playing days that I did bet on things that were only a 10% out or even less. Fish, you just said that you don't do that kind of stuff. There are other variables at play when it comes to poker, because in a moment like that where where in my head I think that I might only have a 10% chance or less of hitting the card that I need to hit, man, I'm getting ready. I'm getting ready to lose everybody. I have a feeling, because here's how that works. It depends on the money in the pot at the time, how much you're willing, how much there is to gain from this. And not only that, but usually that's when I'm making a move to try to push somebody out of a pot so I can take it without them calling me. So I'm going to represent that I have a bigger hand than I actually do. However, if they call me in that moment, I still go, all right, well, I still have some outs, as we say. We still have some outs if they happen to call me. So those are the only times that I'm going to go take a chance on having a 10% chance or less of making my hand. That is if or I feel like I've got them on their heels, and if I make a bet at the pot, they're out, and I can go ahead and take it down. But it's a little alarming to know that the flu vaccination this year there's only a 10% chance of it working for you. So what's that mean? I have a feeling this will be headline news in the coming weeks as we get into February. That more and more. I mean, what the hell, man? This is 2018. It was 2017, I guess, to start. But 27 people in one state, California alone, have died because of the flu. What? And I'm hearing reports too that this is maybe the deadliest flu since the Spanish flu took out like 50 million people in the world. And that, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, was exactly 100 years ago. That's right. Exactly 100 years ago is when that flu epidemic swept the world, killing approximately, I think it was like 50 million. And by the way, I've looked up these numbers before in the past, and they're technically hard to really truly pinpoint. This is going back to 1918. But yeah, 50 million people were taken out by the flu then. Coming up on the Wake.Show today, we will. If you guys were watching the Alabama game, and even if you missed what happened after the game, I'm sure the next morning as you're going through your feeds, you saw the Alabama lineman Bradley Bozeman celebrates win by proposing to his girlfriend, Nikki Hegstetter. And so she will be on the show coming up at 8:30 this morning. We'll punch her in via Facebook Messenger. Also coming up at 8:45, we'll talk nutrition. And for those with Eric Stratman from T&L Nutrition Coaching, and I was watching a video of his yesterday. He just was showing his new facility there in New York where he is. And it is just beautiful. It is huge. It's an indoor soccer. It's just amazing. CrossFit, all that good stuff. So, all right, it is 7:40. It's time to take a sip of your coffee, alcoholics. What would we do? What would we do without our coffee? We'll come back to stuff you should know just after 8 o'clock, but let's go ahead and just run through some of the interesting headlines that I came across over the last day. And one of them has to do with this era that we live in now, sexual harassment. I don't know the era of sexual harassment, but it's the era of calling everybody out for everything from obviously a sexual assault, rape, that in that part of the spectrum, down to just, hey, girl, all of it's on the table. Obviously, when you get up into the sexual assault realm, that stuff's not on the table for discussion. That is never and should never be accepted. But listen to this. France's most... I want to bring this up on the screen for you behind me, too. Uh-oh. What happened to my TV there behind me? Let me see if I do this, if it'll come back for me. I don't know if I accidentally turned it off or what. Okay, that's not working. Oh, wait. That is working. So let's make sure the TV's on. Has it been off the whole time and you guys didn't tell me? Oh, here we go. There we go. Because this is an interesting article here. It is women, and now it's coming out of France, but it is women defending men and saying that there is a witch hunt right now and that this is all BS, all this stuff that we're going through. So let me just do a little bit of that. A little bit of that. France's most revered actress, her name is Catherine, and that's who's up on your screen right now. Catherine Deneuve, hit on Tuesday a new Puritanism. All right, that's her quote there. A new Puritanism sparked by sexual harassment scandals, declaring that men should be free to hit on women. What do you guys think of this? Men should be free to hit on women. Now, I will say that I don't know if you guys remember the conversation that we had. It's been about a month now. And I want to say it was Desiree. I brought her up on the air. And it was it's a Facebook friend, somebody I've known for years. And she was basically saying the same thing, that she feels like men are being attacked in America, that she likes that her man is a man, is a man. She got pretty worked up over it. Well, this is exactly what they're talking about here. She was one of around 100 French women, okay? 100 French women that they were women writers, performers, and academics who wrote an open letter deploring the wave of denunciation that has followed the claims that Hollywood producer Harvey Weinstein raped and sexually assaulted women over the decades. They claim that that then opened up a witch hunt, and that threatens sexual freedom. Quote, they say, rape is a crime, but trying to seduce someone, even persistently or cack-handedly, I think when they're talking about cack-handedly, they are talking about they're talking about like actual physical touching, like you put your hand on somebody's knee, or you You go in for a kiss, as they say. You'll see here in a second, to steal a kiss. I think that's what they mean by cack-handedly. Is not. So let me start that over. Rape is a crime, but trying to seduce someone, even persistently or cack-handedly, is not. Nor is men being gentlemanly a macho attack. Said the letter published in the Daily Le Monde. Quote, men have been punished summarily, forced out of their jobs when all they did was touch someone's knee or try to steal a kiss, said the letter. What do you think of that? Because, where the conversation is going right now is that don't do this anymore. You don't go in for a kiss. You don't reach over and put your hand in a knee. You say, can I give you a kiss? Can I put my hand on your knee? Now that's which intellectually, by the way, I'm not trying to say I'm an intellectual. I mean, the part of my brain that's thinking. That's what I mean. Intellectually, I can go, oh yeah, I see what you're saying there. But then when I take a step back and look at the brain and go, wait a second, we're animals, we're mammals. We have certain inclinations, and the courtship or that game, that back and forth, is very natural, right? Obviously there's lines and you have to be careful with this kind of stuff. But so what are you saying, Fish? Are you saying that we should allow for, we shouldn't call out those who are touching knees and taking liberties? There you go. And taking liberties? Oh, sorry about that. I'm taking liberties with all the buttons this morning. And I don't know. I think that one of the reasons why we're having this discussion that the way we're having it right now is because there is a generation of women. I don't know if that's true. I'm trying to bring in the snowflake thing, millennials and that whole thing. And by the way, by snowflake, I'm not trying to be derogatory. And going, oh, you millennials are P words. It's not that at all. It's that generation. There's so many in that generation has been raised with such protection. Not the way that I was raised or others were raised. Where, think about it. For those people who had both mom and dad in the working, or mom was working part time, all this kind of stuff. And so you have to go to daycare. You have babysitters, and you're this or that. I don't know. I feel like we're protecting our kids so much for so long, even after they're kids. So they're 21, 22, they're in college. Sorry. I'm staring at you like you've done something and you haven't done anything. My point, my long story longer, I think that we should probably raise our children, our little girls, to be a little tougher. To go, hey, listen, there's going to be, not that you're having discussions with your 6-year-old going, listen, there's going to be a point starting in about 6 years that people are going to start getting handsy, looking at you differently, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And so I think we do better teaching our children to deal with uncomfortable situations like that, versus protecting them from all the anything in the sex realm. And then when they become adults, they're complaining because somebody at work said, hey, you're attractive and I'd like to take you out sometime. Well, next thing you know, they're losing their GD minds, throwing their hands in the air, having this guy written up for some sexual harassment. And this is the point that they're trying to make here, coming out of France. So back to this story. Rape is a crime, quote, rape is a crime, but trying to seduce someone, even persistently or cack-handedly, is not, nor is men being gentlemanly a macho attack. Men have been punished summarily, forced out of their jobs when all they did was touch someone's knee or try to steal a kiss. So again, what do you think of that? Stoned Fish. Oh no, this is not Stoned Fish at all. Men have been dragged through the mud. They argued for talking about intimate subjects. During professional dinners, or for sending sexually charged messages to women who did not return their attentions. I think when it comes to this kind of stuff, we have to have our women, again, we have to raise them a certain way so they're not so timid in moments like this. It's like we're trying to build this world, and I kind of agree where they're going with this, talking about this Puritan. You're trying to make this perfectly Puritan system, and I don't know if that's in the cards for us ever. I mean, maybe it is. Maybe 100 generations, 100, let me repeat, 100 generations from now. Maybe we are more Vulcan-like, you know? But as it stands right now, we still got a lot of mammal in us. We got a lot of animal in us. We got a lot of primate in us. And those things drive sexual urges. And yes, us men, we have a lot of work to do when it comes to how we express that kind of stuff. But let's get back to these 100 women out of France who are saying men should be allowed to catcall. Men should not be, they should not denounce man's action because he went in for a kiss. Now, it's different, though, because there's so many complicated, so many layers to this discussion. Because, I mean, I agree on one hand, but if you're in a position of power at a job, then you can't go in for that kiss. You can't put your hand in the knee. You don't say, hey, you're hot, can I take you out? Back to the letter. The letter attacked feminist social media campaigns like Me Too, hashtag Me Too, and its French equivalent, which is hashtag Balance Don Porc. Sorry, I am not French. It's translated to call out your pig for unleashing this puritanical wave of purification. Witch hunt. It claimed that legitimate protests against sexual violence that women are subject to, particularly in their professional lives, had turned into a witch hunt. Quote, what began as freeing women up to speak has today turned into the opposite. We intimidate people into speaking correctly. Did you listen to that? The difference there? What began as freeing women up to speak has today turned into the opposite. We intimidate people into speaking correctly. Not freeing women up to speak about what's going on, but we want everybody to speak correctly. Shout down those who don't fall in line, and those women who refuse to bend to the new realities are regarded as complicit and traitors. The signatories, which included a porn star turned agony aunt, claimed they were defending sexual freedom for which the liberty to seduce and an importune was essential. Oscar-nominated Deneve, 74, is best known international for playing a bored housewife who spends her afternoons as a prostitute in Luis Buñuel classic 1967 film Belle de Jour. Sorry, I'm not as worldly. I do not know this film. She made no secret of her annoyance at social media campaigns to shame men accused of harassing women. Quote, I don't think it's the right method to change things. It is excessive, she said last year, referring to the Me Too hashtag. After calling out your pig, what are we going to have? Call your whore out? What? Call out your whore? Instead of helping women, this frenzy to send these male chauvinist pigs to the abattoir actually helped. There's just way too many French words in this story. Instead of helping women, this frenzy to send these male chauvinist pigs to the abattoir actually helps the enemies of sexual liberty, religious extremists, and the worst sort of reactionaries, the collective of women who signed the letter said. As women, we do not recognize ourselves in this feminism, which beyond denouncing the abuse of power takes on a hatred of men and of sexuality. And that's kind of an important part of this is they're saying that this isn't feminism. This goes beyond that. This should be about denouncing the abuse of power. Denouncing the abuse of power. And instead, it's turned into this hate man movement. takes on a hatred of men and of sexuality. They insisted that women were sufficiently aware that the sexual urge is by its nature wild and aggressive, but we are also clear-eyed enough not to confuse an awkward attempt to pick someone up with a sexual attack. This really is well written. I'm glad that they wrote this, and this is part of the discussion now. They insisted that women are sufficiently aware that sexual urge is by its nature wild and aggressive. I don't know that to be true. I think that especially here in America, for those women that are raised in certain households, they are protected forever. Remember, I mean, again, this goes back to old world religion and that purity stuff, and that a woman is nothing but a vessel that should be kept holy and sacred until she's married off, and then that man he puts it inside of her so she then can give birth, and again and again and again and again and again, and that's all a woman's role. That's so this is what they are worried about, is that this era that we're in right now is going to stifle sexual freedom in men and women. So they would like to get the conversation focused back onto the abuse of power, and not some. So what do you do? So what do you do, Fish? So what you're saying is that guys should still be allowed to just put their hand on someone's knee. They should be allowed to, without asking, just go in for a kiss. Well, that's the thing, man. These are awkward moments. And so in those moments, this guy's feeling, all right, I think this is my chance. I think she's giving me the signs. I go in for, you go in for a kiss. You might back up and go, whoa, 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 whoa. Hey, what the hell was that, buddy? And that's fine. Those conversations are fine. I almost feel like we are trying to set up a society where there's no more uncomfortableness. There's no more being offended. That everybody has to sit and act like a GD robot. Beep, 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 beep. May I have a conversation with you? And that's just not, we're animals. You got to remember that. So instead of trying to make everybody, walk around with their hands down by their sides and just waiting for what? How about we raise our kids? Go, hey, listen, man, life's going to get a little rough. How about we raise our children to be adults? How about we raise our kids to be adults instead of trying to protect our little babies forever and keep them little babies forever? How about we raise our kids to be adults and be honest with them, age appropriate, of course. You got to be, you can only be so honest with them, but age appropriate. And so that by the time they hit their teens, for instance, I'm having lunch the other day with a 17-year-old girl. Or maybe she was 16. All right, I'm obviously baiting you a little bit. I was with my aunt, and this was an Italian exchange student that has been living with them this year. And so somehow we get on this discussion, and she, at 16 or 17 years old, had a little bit more of the frame of mind, the mindset that you're hearing in this article. And her thought is, she was not going after men, or men do this too much, or boys do that, too much. In her head, she's like, yeah, that happens. But what I do in those moments is I step on their feet. I was like, what? She's like, yeah, when if somebody gets out of line and she tells some story, she's in Italy and da-da-da-da-da, she turns, somebody, I can't remember if they grabbed her butt, pat her on the butt or whatever it was. She turns around, steps on their feet. And she goes, that's what I was taught to do. That's what I do in those situations. And so I understand why people are going, well, it shouldn't be that way. 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 You're right. All right, maybe you're right. It shouldn't be that way. But we can sit here and go round and round about what should or should not be. Or we can talk about what is and isn't and deal with it accordingly. Now, I'm not saying that things shouldn't, change some. But I think that they have a point here. Our friend Desiree, who we talked about a month ago in a very similar way, has a point as well. And so, guys, so you're all right, Fish, we'll get to the point. What do I do, man? As a man, I'm a single man. Not me. I'm being you. I'm a single man. I love women. I like to flirt with them, But I feel like now when I go to do something like that, it is sexual harassment that next thing you know, I'm going to end up in the news or something. No, that's not how this is all working. If you are a person in power, if you're this politician, then hey, what's going on, brother? I'm sorry, I didn't see you sneak in there. Then you have, there you go. And you're a position of power. That's when you really have to think. You have to go, damn it. Even if you're attracted to this woman, you got to go, damn it. I can't just hit her. Well, why not, man? Come on. Just because I'm a manager somewhere or just because I'm the boss somewhere, that means I can't have conversations with. No. If it is obviously mutual, like you guys are talking and she's going, hey man, there is something here, and you're like, yeah, but you're my subordinate, nothing can happen here. Well, there's steps you can take. All right, if it's real, if it's that real, that true, then there's steps you can take. But if you're the dickhead, sorry, if you're the kind of personality that hits on every piece of ass that comes through your office, then those guys, you're done. Yeah, I think anyway, once we get through this phase, those days are over. Where you go into an office and every single sales chick is hot with boobs out to here, a waist this big, and ass splat out, and looks like they're wearing stuff you would see more at a night out than an actual sale. So I think those days are office where you have that guy sitting there as a general manager or a general sales manager, and he's got 6 salespeople, and they all are just banging. I think those days are over or coming to a close. Not saying that, attractive women won't be in the workplace, but when it's obvious that somebody's just lining up stables for themselves, I think those days are coming to an end. Those people will be highlighted and will not be accepted like they once were. Let's see. Let's come back over here. What do we got? I want to get back to stuff you should know here. Oh, man, I'm sweating now. See, this sucks. I knew that I'd be able to get, like, at least an hour. I'm going to have to turn down the air. Let's turn down the air a little bit. Because as it stands this morning, I don't know if you guys were here at the very beginning of the show, but even though I feel like absolute ass, I do not want to go down the path of anything that has that D in it yet. The cold and sinus stuff, and then when you start feeling like this, you take it and it gets you through the day. I think that is going to be tomorrow morning because there is no look at this. Look how horrible I look. But today, we got a very long day of work once we get off the air, got off the stream. Then I'm going to be out at Park and Rec from 8. My headphones are even wet. I'm sweating. So I'm not even taking any of that D stuff, and I'm already sweating. So tomorrow is going to be very interesting. But tonight, Park and Rec, got karaoke from 8 until midnight, and it's not like you can just sit there, just sit there and I'm playing music or whatever. I got to be on. I got to perform. I got to entertain for 4 effing hours. And that is a challenge every single week for me because I don't sing. I've tried to fake my way through some stuff. Well, the dog's the finder, got time to wait for tomorrow to find it. I'll take another one. Thank you very much, Chords. That is nice and cold. But it should be interesting. I'm not bummed, though. I mean, a little bit because, of course, if I'm going to take over this show, starting this week, and, I want it to be perfect for you. I want it to be entertaining, informative, palatable, but, and so there is a part of me when you come in on Monday and you can already feel this happening. You're like, oh, it's going to be a long week. So, yes, there's a part of me that's a little on the bum side because I want to be 100% on my game for you. On the other hand, I'm kind of one of those guys that looks at the universe. I come from a religious background. I'm not as religious as I once was, but I think there is definitely some things happening in the universe, and so I'll look at the moments like this and go, all right, well, this is the universe saying, slow down, take your time, everything's gonna be fine. You don't have to come in, guns a-blazing day one, and then one of the reasons why you can't. I want to get comfortable in moments like this. If I can get comfortable with all the new stuff, all the buttons I have to push, and all this stuff, and make it through, even when I'm sick, then I know that once we start adding people, adding layers to the show, then that stuff is. I don't know. I want to get a nice solid foundation this week first. So, all right. Well, coming up at 8:30, we will be talking to Nikki. She got proposed to on Monday night after Alabama's win. I know a lot of you saw it, so we'll talk to her, get us to tell the story. I'm coming up on my 1-year anniversary with my wife, and also coming up at 8:15. I'm sorry, at 8:45, we will have on Eric Stratman. From TNL Nutrition Coaching to talk a little bit about fitness and whatnot. But let's go ahead and get to stuff you should know for today. Partly cloudy with a high approaching 80 this afternoon. We'll get back down to the 50s by the weekend, however. Here's stuff you should know for Wednesday, January 10th. The Trump administration said Tuesday that it will not allow oil drilling off the coast of Florida, abruptly reversing course under pressure from the state's Republican Governor Rick Scott. Florida Democratic Senator Bill Nelson said that this is a political stunt orchestrated by the Trump administration to help Rick Scott. Quote, I have spent my entire life fighting to keep oil rigs away from our coast. Now, all of a sudden, Secretary of Zinke announces plans to drill off Florida's coast, and then 5 days later, mysteriously agrees to take Florida off the table. I don't believe it. We shouldn't be playing politics of the future of Florida. So what Bill Nelson there is saying that this is politics, that this was just a move to make Governor Rick Scott look good so that then he can run for the Senate and be there to help Donald Trump with his agenda. Another politician has committed suicide after allegations surfaced. Idaho Republican state lawmaker Brandon Hickson, under investigation for possible sexual abuse, died in an apparent suicide on Tuesday. The 36-year-old was found dead of a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head in his home early on Tuesday morning. Records obtained by the Associated Press also show that Hickson was previously the focus of a separate police investigation in 2014 after he was accused of inappropriate touching. At the time, Hickson denied the accusations and told police he was worried that the allegations would harm his political career. It's unknown if the new investigation, which has been ongoing since October 7th, was connected to the prior case. Steve Bannon has stepped down from his position as chairman of Breitbart News just 5 months after he returned to the job after leaving the White House. Steve is a valued part of our legacy, and we always will be grateful for his contributions and what he has helped us to accomplish, said Breitbart CEO Larry Solov. Before resuming his tenure at Breitbart, Bannon served as chief executive for Donald Trump's campaign and then chief strategist in the White House. You know, it would be awesome. It's not going to happen. But I know, how the comedians, especially late night talk show and people like Stephen Colbert, have really been teeing off in the administration since the beginning. It would be awesome to see him go on one of those shows, especially that show. Dean McKee was 16 when he was sentenced to life in prison. Last night, 30 years later, he was released after new evidence cast doubt on his guilt and suggests that his older brother may have played a greater role in the 1987 murder of a 41-year-old homeless black man. Both brothers were teenage neo-Nazi skinheads implicated in the beating and the stabbing death of Isaiah Walker. Betty White is celebrating her 95th birthday, and Betty's advice for living a long and meaningful life was straight and simple. Quote, first of all, keep busy. Don't focus on everything around you. No, hold on. And don't focus everything on you. Sorry. That's two different things. Do not focus everything. Basically, do not become a narcissist. That's what she's saying. Do not focus everything on you. that wears you out pretty fast. It's not hard to find things you're interested in, but enjoy them and indulge them. And I think that can keep you on your toes, unquote. Tyler Johnson had a hat trick as the Lightning held on for a 5-4 victory Tuesday against the visiting Hurricanes. It was the first of the season and the third regular season hat trick of his career. He had one during the playoffs in 2015. And that is stuff you should know for today. Coming up, we will got a couple of guests coming up here in just a few that I just promoed. Let's get to some of the other stories of the end. Oh, my bad. Let's get to some of the other stories or some of the other headlines that caught my eye. That Dean McKee story that we just talked about. This guy was in prison for 30 years and is now out. He was released. McKee, 46, was released hours after a Hillsborough Circuit judge agreed to release him on his own recognizance as the state appeals a judicial order striking down his 1988 murder conviction. So I guess there's a chance he ends up going back into prison, but as it stands right now, he's out. He's a free man. Jailers escorted the guy to a holding area to be fitted with a GPS monitor for now. It's a condition of his appellate bond agreement. Outside with family members, friends, photographers, reporters waited for him. Some caught a glimpse. He is still standing in his orange jail pants, bear hugging his lawyer, Seth Miller, of the Innocence Project of Florida. Quote, "The great thing about this case is it's all about redemption," the lawyer said. "No one is incorrigible. Everyone grows up. Everyone has the opportunity to become a good man, and this is a good man," unquote. Now, his attorneys argue that new evidence casts doubt on his guilt and suggests that his older brother may have played a greater role in that 1987 murder. They were both neo-Nazis, so he's 16 years old at the time. It is listen, I get, if I were to go back and see the forensics and you see the photos of what this man looked like after they beat him to death, I'm sure I would probably have different thoughts. But he's 16 years old, and I don't know, it's just putting someone away for life at 16. I don't know. I know what the laws are, and we draw that line of demarcation at 18 years old. Before 18, you get, I want to say you get a pass, but you can get a pass in a lot of stuff in law before 18 years old. After that, you're screwed. You're on your own. After that. Same thing, before 18 years old, we protect you from guys hitting on you too hard, or women hitting on you, teachers hitting on you too. We try to protect you from that kind of stuff. But after 18, or once you hit 18, and you are fair game. So you have until 18 to grow up to a certain degree. So he was 16 years old when this went down. They're saying that his older brother had a much bigger role in this, but he has spent 30 years in prison behind bars because of what he did at 16 years old. And I know some of you are going, listen, man, they're still children. They're still children. We're not. There's still a lot of growing up to do at 16. But when you head out, I don't know. You head out with your brother and you beat the shit out of a black homeless man because you buy into some neo-Nazi propaganda. I don't know. If he was 12, okay, maybe that's 8, then different. But 16 years old, he was. But I guess an argument can be made that at 16 you're going to follow your brother. You would follow your father to do almost anything, and it takes a few more years before you can, I don't know, understand the gravity of something like that. So, anyways, a free man for now. We'll see how that plays out. Also, there's a story this morning in TampaBay.com about laws target teen parties like the fatal New Year's Eve event, but enforcement is challenging it. And the reason why I brought this up, or thought it might be worth bringing up, is because it starts with my generation, Generation X, and going back to the late 80s and 90s. Because back then, they weren't teen pajama parties. They were just called raves. And people, there'd be some people there who was wearing their pajamas, but, they were called raves. Body shops and furniture operators doing business by day hang their shingles from fence posts and doorways at the gritty Storette Business Park, but not Dub D Dance Hall, an online alias for the building at 5809 North 50th Street, where the 15-year-old girl and a family friend sent to drive her home were shot to death by security guards. Teen gatherings known as raves in the 80s and 90s and warehouse parties in the 2000s prompted a series of ordinances that tamped down the all-night party Generation X would host at nightclubs. So anyway, so these go back a long time, these kinds of parties. And I remember in the 1990, 91, 92, I'd been 18, 19, 20 years old hearing, these were, I'm from Orlando, by the way, or Ocoee. So the Tampa area was not necessarily a place I visited a lot. I'd probably been to Tampa once by the time I was, 21 years old. But the stories, because I've, friends that I went to high school with, that I was working with, 18, 19, 20, 21, would come down to Tampa and talk about these parties where they were out in the middle of nowhere or some warehouse that they just rigged up for a party. And 9 out of 10 times those things happen. Cops aren't called. People don't die. There's only one overdose or two. And you move on. But now that I'm an older man, looking at these things, you're going, holy crap. But that's what we do. We do as young adults. We take risks and take a lot of them. Coming in about 15 minutes, we will talk to Nikki. Uh-oh, wait. We could all be set. We should all be all set for 8:30, yes. Yes, we are. I guess this is another reason why it'll be good to have a real producer, or if we can't do that here in the beginning, a bank of interns or something that can handle all this kind of stuff, so that the host of the show doesn't have to confirm via text message in the middle of the show. So a couple more. Do you guys want to talk a little bit more? Do you want to learn a little bit more about this Brandon Hickson guy, another politician who's now committed suicide because of sexual misconduct allegations? Idaho Republican state lawmaker who was under investigation for possible sexual abuse died in an apparent suicide on Tuesday. He was found dead, a self-inflicted gunshot wound. A family member discovered his remains. He was 36. Wow, that is young. He was elected to the Idaho legislature in 2012. So he was 30 years old. At the time, Hickson was one of the youngest lawmakers elected to the Idaho House of Representatives. He flew relatively under the radar during his time there at the State House until October, when he abruptly resigned from office after reports broke he was the subject of a criminal investigation for possible sexual abuse. Quote, this is from the Attorney General's office. This is from him. I hope that my efforts have helped improve the lives of my constituents in District 10, as well as all Idahoans, Hickson wrote in his resignation letter. I will never forget all of my colleagues, and I very much enjoyed working side by side with to make Idaho a better place for all. Records obtained by the Associated Press also show that Hickson was previously the focus of a separate police investigation. This was in 2014 after he was accused of inappropriate touching. At the time, Hickson denied the accusations and told police he was worried the allegations would harm his political career. It's unknown if the new investigation, which has been going on since the beginning of October, was connected to the prior case. After resigning from office, Hickson was then arrested twice for drunken driving. So he spiraled then after that arrest. Arrested twice for drunken driving, was charged with misdemeanor resisting arrest last month. And unfortunately, he is survived by his 4 children. 4 children, ages 6 to 17. That is tough. That is crucial parts of our development. And when traumatizing events happen during those years, man, it is tough. And to have your father, first of all, be accused of this kind of stuff, and then kill himself because he can't deal with it, that is not going to be easy. All right, next up, sleep yourself slim is the article coming from the Telegraph. And spending an extra 90 minutes in bed may not seem like an obvious way to lose weight, but according to a new study, it could be the key to shedding excess pounds. All right. So the point of the story is stay in bed and you'll lose weight. We'll talk to Eric Stratman about that coming up at 8:45 as we talk nutrition and health. Scientists from King's College London have discovered that people who sleep for longer are less likely to pick sugary treats or reach for comforting carbohydrates. Okay, that makes sense then. That makes some sense. So basically, because if you're not getting enough sleep, then you're waking up, your body is already in a state of stress. If there's already that little, it's kind of like, like before an earthquake or something, your body's already not doing well. It didn't get enough sleep and it needs some help, it needs some energy. So you're going for fatty foods, sugary foods, and stuff, and carbohydrates, comfort food. Lack of sleep was already known to be a risk factor for obesity because it alters levels of hormones which control appetite. Ugh. Oh, I'm excited though. Very excited. Coming up, I don't know, it's in the mail. I've got T on the way, testosterone on the way. Yes, hi. I'm Fisher and I'm low T. And that sucks. Your T levels. All right, let me bring this up officially. All right, so that study, you pretty much get the gist of that study there, and that is it's basically saying that you need to get more sleep. If you get proper sleep, then you're more likely to be slim, because if you're not getting the sleep you need, then you are your body's looking for comfort food because it needs to fill in some gaps, I guess. So with that, let me talk about let's see where men's T levels should be. Where men's T levels should be, because I'm at the bottom end of the spectrum. Actually, I'm out of the spectrum from when. Yeah. I'm 100 nanograms per deciliter below. So in general, the normal range I'm seeing between 300 and 10 something. Okay, right here. In general, the normal range of males is about 270 to 1070, with an average level of about 679. Okay. A normal male testosterone level peaks at age 20 and then begins to slowly decline from there. Now, one of my brothers in his early 30s was already low T, and so he went on, I think it was called clomidopine, something along those lines. And this is something that I tried but didn't work for me. And it's not technically even recognized by insurance or the FDA as a, I'll say as a, not cure. What's the word I'm looking for? As a proper treatment, for low T. But what can happen to some people is it's either in the testes, the issue is in the testes themselves, or one of the glands somewhere in the brain or something like that. So this Clomid or something or whatever, it's a pill that you take it depends, but basically I was taking it Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And if my issues were up here, then it would kick something in. I tricks my brain or something, and it would start sending signals to my testes to produce testosterone. But that doesn't work for everybody. It's working for my brother, didn't work for me. So went to the doctor earlier in the week, and I think I already told you this, that my choices were either the gel, which I can't do because my wife, if things go well as planned, then my wife and I will start a family this year. And she can't touch, because if she touches it, it'll mess, she rubs whatever. It could throw off her hormones, and you don't want to do that, obviously. You don't want your children to come in contact with it either. So that leaves, so then he talked about the patch. I'm like, oh, okay, well, that's not a shot. That might be a little easier. And but he said it's the same thing as the gel, that you have to be careful, blah, blah, blah. And I go, all right, well, then the needle it is. The needle it is. And so I allegedly have this testosterone coming in the mail. When it gets to my house, I will take it to my doctor, and they'll do it for free. He said I don't even need to make an appointment. Just come by, and then they'll give me the shot. And in the beginning here, it's going to be a shot every 2 weeks. A shot every 2 weeks. I'd like to figure out how to administer it myself. I don't know if I have it in me to do that. We will see. But, man, I am really, really excited. I don't say excited. Maybe I'm really, really looking forward to it, because I don't know. Oh, by the way, I didn't even tell you my number. My number is 202. So if the range is 270 to 1070 with an average of 679, so let's call it 680, and I'm at 202, you're like, oh, buddy, what the? Well, let me read it perfect. Like, what is low, the symptoms of low testosterone, okay? How about that? The symptoms for low testosterone. All right. Oh, well, thanks for nothing, Siri. Thank you for nothing. The reason that I can just go over my symptoms, and I will, but I'd rather bring up, official stuff. So, because this might help a lot of you. All right, symptoms of low T. Common side effects of low testosterone. I know that, let's see, sex drive. Yeah, of course, start right there. There's definitely some issues there. Muscle mass and strength. Well, I don't know about that. Wait, I think this is all fat, not muscle. Bone density, red blood cell production, physical changes, increase in body fat, fragile bones, decreased body hair, swelling and tenderness, and that's one thing that is hard to. That's hard. Is let me go to this camera here. Is I've got moobs now. I ain't pulling them out for you, but I've got moobs, and better known as man boobs. But there's I want those to go. I want to go back to having pecs. I want to go back to having pecs, not boobs. Sleep is straight. I have sleep issues. I've had sleep issues for quite some time. Emotional changes. Easily agitated, depression, that kind of stuff. And so we're going to give this a go and see what happens. According to the people that I've talked to that are already on T therapy, it really sounds like a wonder treatment. And so I don't want to get too excited. I don't want to go because you get too excited and thinking that this is going to fix all the things that ails you, and then it doesn't. That could be kind of depressing. So, all right, coming up here in about 4 minutes. Yes, we love it. I'm going to go ahead and message her now. To make sure she is ready. Well, hell, we'll see if she's ready to go now. And who I'm talking about is... Whoa, what the hell did I just do? Good morning, everybody. By the way, I'm sorry that I'm a little slow this morning. I'm a little... I'm just under the weather. It's just one of those things. And you're doing a show by yourself for 2 hours. You got to keep it down here. Can't get a little too worked up. Next thing I'll start sweating and all that kind of stuff. Here we go. Are you about ready? See, then one day, in theory, we'll have a producer that is handling all of those details while we're on the air. And we'll punch her up and then talk a little teeing out. What's awesome? What would be awesome is to take a break right now, because, so I can stretch out my brain a little bit, use the facilities for a second. You know what I'm saying? And then come back with our guests and today. But no, we'll have to push through. So while my bladder is full, let me go ahead and put my last little bit of coffee on top of it. I was not a coffee drinker for the most part of for the better part of my career, doing mornings, getting up somewhere between 3:30 and 4:30 in the morning, depending on the era. Never drank coffee. Never. Did not drink coffee. Just started drinking coffee in the last 5 years, maybe. And I don't know. I still am not a coffee connoisseur. I take a sip of one. Oh, all right. They are ready to go. Let's do this. Let's go ahead and pull. Let me get my headphones back on so I can hear her. Yes, we are, she says. So they are both, I think, both going to be joining us. So let's do this and see how this plays out. All right. I'm nervous. I want it to go well. It's ringing, except I don't hear the ringing, which means my computer's not doing what it's supposed to. That's why. That's why. Hold on. All right, since we've moved this thing around, there's one little piece of equipment that I forget to plug in every single day. I have to do it. Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. Hold on one second. I'm plugging something in here and making sure that, all right, hopefully that works there. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having us.
All right, here we go. I got that plugged in. So first of all, congratulations on your national championship win. All right, well, let me get your my audio is it's not coming through here, so let me do this real quickly and get you guys punched up sound wise. USB. All right, no, it is supposed to be working. All right. So how's the weather right now in Alabama there? Oh, dang it. Why can't I hear you guys? And it looks like their call froze up on me a little bit there. Hopefully they have a good Wi-Fi connection. This makes me so sad. I can see you guys. You're on the show with me here. And yes, I can hear you coming out of. Go ahead and talk.
Hello, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you way too fine. But for some reason, all right. Well, let's just try it this way. I got another microphone here, so I can hear you. I just want to make sure that everybody can hear you just fine. All right, so here we go. Let's talk about the game. We want to welcome to the show right now a couple people who have become celebrities recently, and Alabama lineman Bradley Bozeman and his fiance Nikki Hegstetter. I would imagine the last couple of days has been pretty crazy. Yes, it has. All right, let me get you back on the screen here. Let's talk about Monday night. Were you going to propose even if you guys lost? Damn it, it's freezing up on me. So let me ask you, can you were you going to propose even if you guys lost that night? Damn it, I am having some serious audio issues and I don't know why. I'm embarrassed. I feel I'm embarrassed. I don't know what's going on here. I'll hear you for 1 second and then you disappear and then you come back again. So I don't know if it's on my end or. But I'm sure you guys have been doing this the last couple of days. I'm sure you're fine on your end. It's freezing, so it might be their internet connection. Dang it. All right, well, I am not sure what to do here, so maybe we can reschedule or something like that. I apologize. I'm not sure exactly what's happening, but damn it, thank you so much for being on this morning, or at least giving it a try. All right, I will. Thank you. All right, sorry about that. Damn it. Well, I got to figure this out before we get T&L on the air now. Bless it. How does this happen? All right. Well, back to this. Sorry about that, guys. I don't know what's going on, and I apologize. I was really looking forward to hearing their story, and I hope we didn't miss the window on that one. Coming up, we'll try to get Eric on. It just doesn't make any sense. I hate when this kind of stuff happens. USB output, yes. It should have been piped through just fine. And then the odd thing is, the technical stuff doesn't matter. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to try this again because maybe it was on their end. Maybe there's something going on there when Eric comes on with us. If I can't hear him then we know there's some issue on my end, and we'll figure it out from there, man. I apologize. Let's run through a couple more things before we get to Eric. A New Jersey doctor hired a man to kill his wife after she planned to expose his drug operation with pagan motorcycle gang. That's always awesome. Dr. James Kaufman, 68, of Linwood, New Jersey, is charged with murder, first-degree racketeering, and first-degree leader of racketeering. 68 years old. And so I guess this guy is part of some kind of a gang, runs drugs and whatnot. She was going to expose him, so he hired someone to kill her. The Trump administration won't allow drilling off the Florida coast. We talked about that in Stuff You Should Know this morning. And, there's a little bit. Good. I'm glad. Rick Scott supposedly stepped in and said, we don't want this here in the state of Florida. And then, allegedly 5 days later, they came back and said, all right, Florida's off the table. Of course, you got people on the other side saying that this was all politics, that Florida never was on the table. And this is to set up Rick Scott to look good so that he can run for state senate. Well, or not state senate, but federal government. All right, Steve Bannon's out. The hell with that. Because that just gets into politics and whatnot, the right-wing, left-wing stuff, and I don't care about. So that is news, but nothing I care to comment on. Stephen Hawking, Earth will become unbearably boiling hot thanks to climate change. Well, let's try this. Let's see if I can get his audio, because if I can get his audio here, then I should be able to get audio from Eric coming up here in a few. See?
We are close to the tipping point where global warming becomes irreversible. Trump's action could push the Earth over the brink to become like Venus, with a temperature of 250 degrees, and raining sulfuric acid. Climate change is one of the great dangers we face, and it's one we can prevent if we act now. By denying the evidence for climate change and pulling out of the Paris Climate Agreement, Donald Trump will cause avoidable environmental damage to our beautiful planet.
All right, so firstly, I'm glad. I'm glad that that's working, as that means it wasn't on my end. It was on their end when we were trying to connect and have that interview a little bit earlier. So I feel good about Eric coming on in a couple of minutes, that we'll be able to hear him. But let's get back to this, because this is Professor Stephen Hawking. I don't know, I wonder if there's politics involved here. Does Stephen Hawking really believe all this?
Entering the natural world for us and our children.
All right, so that was him talking.
Need money?
Yes, I do. We all do. That was Stephen Hawking talking about the world is in danger, and I want to get to some of those details real quickly. So, Professor Hawking said U.S. President Donald Trump's decision to withdraw from the Paris climate change has doomed the Earth to one day become uninhabitable, and repeating his warning, which I don't understand that first part, because even talking to those who are proponents of fixing what's going on, they even said that the Paris climate that agreement wasn't going to save anything, wasn't going to change anything. Although it was the step in the right direction, because it was bringing the world together on one, cause, and going after climate change. But the agreement itself really wasn't going to do anything. Hopefully it was going to lead to stuff that would. And repeating his warning, the physicist said climate change deniers should look to Venus, which is now a boiling planet. In the second episode of his Emmy-winning series, Favorite Places, which sees the 76-year-old traverse the universe. By the way, he was supposed to be dead 50 years ago, more than 50 years ago. It's just amazing that he, because I forget what it is, what the disease is that put him in this position. But yeah, he was not supposed to live this long, nearly this long. Venus is the second closest planet to the sun and was once Earth-like. But a buildup of greenhouse gases in its atmosphere turned the planet into a boiling celestial body with temperatures of 250 degrees Celsius, wind speeds up to 100 meters per second. NASA says it's a classic example of how the slightest of differences in planet's greenhouse can massively affect its future and turn it into an uninhabitable place. Oh, okay. Never mind. Just got all of our equipment. So Eric, our guest, our next guest. Well, I'm not doing well with guests today, am I? So there we go. Sorry about that. All right, so that's Eric at his new gym, his new facility. And he said, he got a bunch of equipment coming in that I got to get out of boxes and whatnot. Can we move to tomorrow? And yes, no problem. We'll move that tomorrow. So we'll just go over a couple more of these things, and then I'll wrap up the show today. So Stephen Hawking saying that if we don't do something, that we are approaching the tipping point. We are approaching a moment where there's no turning back. I gotta believe Stephen Hawking more than I'm going to believe, people on the other side of this. And he says climate change is one of the great dangers we face, and it's one we can prevent if we act now. By denying the evidence for climate change and pulling out of the Paris Climate Agreement, Donald Trump will cause avoidable environmental damage to our beautiful planet, endangering the natural world for us and for our children. So how's this going to play out? Well, for those that are anti, climate, don't believe in it at all, it doesn't matter. They don't care if it's Stephen Hawking and the most brilliant scientists in the world. They are not going to believe it at all. I'm not sure why that is, but it just is. Well, really, that's but the way I guess the way I see that too is I don't see anybody changing anything. We just don't. We don't make those kinds of changes until there's something that is imminent, until there's some huge disaster. Once, I don't know what that would be. All of a sudden a 15 square mile chunk of an iceberg slips off and somewhere and causes a I don't know. I don't know what that would be, but I have a feeling that we just have to go through another borderline extinction phase. According to the fossil record, it looks like, humanity was even on the brink of extinction at some time, where there might have been less than 400 breeding pairs of humans. And so the way I look at, and this seems like that it's a doomsday, but I really don't see it that way. There's a long game here. And I know that it's hard for us to look at humanity over millions of years, especially into the future, but that's the way I stretch it out. And I have a feeling that we just have to go through something else that we will go through within the next, few generations. Hopefully it's after I'm long gone. But real calamity in the world. Say we're at somewhere between 7 and 8 billion people right now. I'm talking about the kind of stuff we're stuck, because of the effects of climate change and things happening so fast that there's disease and famine and drought and all those biblical things, and our numbers dwindle. It really has an impact, and we go from 7 billion down to half that or less, back down to 1 billion or something, and then this is the way I see it. Prognosticating the future of humanity. And then the comeback from there is when we will kind of even out and have a better understanding of who we are, what our environment is, and act a little bit more responsibly accordingly. So you're not going to see me get out there getting behind Stephen Hawking, even though I believe he's likely telling the truth. He's not just making it up for political reasons or anything like that. You're not going to see me get out there going, damn it, world, F you, Trump and America and all industrial, blah-de-blah, it's your fault, this and this and this. I think if you take a step back and look at all of it, you could almost have predicted that this is where we were going to end up. But I don't think it's the end of humanity. And I don't know, there's been the rise and fall of civilization since we've started to try to, come together in a civilized way. And this will just be another one of those, is we learn a couple more lessons moving forward. And then the way I see it, then we're not that we're smooth sailing, but then we are at the pinnacle of however that stuff works, the food chain and all that. We're the premier predator of the planet and the premier species of on the planet. And we coast for the next, 100 million years, giving the dinosaurs a run for their money. So I don't know. That's just kind of the way I look at it.
Having trouble with Nikki?
Yeah, we were having trouble with Nikki. I could not hear them. Plus, they were there. They kept freezing up. So I have a feeling that it was something on their end.
Let's give her a call. Maybe we can get him in after you talk to Eric.
Well, Eric's pushed back till tomorrow. He just messaged me.
Well, I'll call Nikki right now.
Well, yeah, call her and see if we can try it again real quickly. Because I did pull up something, and my audio seems to be fine on this end. Yeah, but their Wi-Fi, I don't know if it was their Wi-Fi or what it was, but obviously it didn't look that great. Where were we? Oh, yeah, the end of time. I don't know. What do you guys think? Are we going to be just fine that all this concern, there'll be another phase of something that we can't predict that happens, a shift in the moon, a celestial shift, and next thing you know, things are, kind of copacetic around here? Or do you, when you see these warnings, hear the warnings like we do from Stephen Hawking and other physicists and scientists around the world, you go, all right, it's inevitable. There was a part of me, too, that I didn't want to buy the home that we bought because it's in South St. Pete. And, if waters start to rise, which they're already rising slowly, incrementally, but if they rise enough, well, the Pinellas County Peninsula is not going to be the most viable place for inhabitants like me. But I have a feeling that hopefully if there is that's at least 50 years down the road, and I'm already, I don't have to worry about it then. So Cord is trying to set up to see if we can try this again and get them back on.
Nikki's not going to be able to tomorrow.
Okay. All right, we'll reschedule with them for tomorrow. Geez, man, we got a packed show tomorrow. Tomorrow, so Eric Stratman got pushed back till tomorrow. I've got a guest host coming in tomorrow for those of you that are familiar with Chris McCarty, singer-songwriter and a good friend of mine for many years. Used to have him on my the Morning X show when back in the day. Great interview, great performer, great friend, and looking forward to having him on hosting with me tomorrow in the second half. But we'll have a lot going on tomorrow as well. Thank you so much for bearing with me today. And my sickness hopefully clear up a little bit and start sounding a little bit better. But thank you once again for supporting the Wake.Show. I am Chris Fisher. You can track me down on my social media on Twitter at Fisher the Man, Facebook Fisher the Man 123, and then tonight for those of you that are big fans of karaoke, and make sure that you come out to Park and Rec tonight. I'll be there from 8 until midnight hosting karaoke, and I would like to not do any singing whatsoever because I don't think that I would be able to, and I'm going to need a lot of people up there on the list, so you guys are constantly singing, and I don't have to step in and do anything. Have a great day, and we will do this again tomorrow.